Hey guys, it's JP, and this time we will be talking about higher level exercises for the gluteus medius. I already went over exercises that engage the gluteus medius, however it is important to incorporate more advanced exercises when you are ready. This is because to strengthen a muscle, it needs to be challenged appropriately. Further improving strength and resilience of the muscle may help prepare the body for the demands of running. This may be important as this muscle has shown to produce almost 6 times your body weight as you run. As I have said before, this is actually more than the peak force generated by the glute max, which tends to get more attention. Now when training the muscle, I typically incorporate lower intensity exercises focusing on working on the areas that may be beneficial to improving running performance. However, as the athlete's strength and motor coordination improve, I begin to incorporate more advanced exercises for the gluteus medius. This is because these muscles adapt, and the exercises that were performed initially may become easier. Now to further strengthen these muscles, they need to be challenged further. So now let's go over some more advanced exercises that challenge the gluteus medius. The first exercise I will go over is the side plank with leg raises. The side plank itself already has shown to produce high glute med activity, and incorporating this variation further increases that. To initiate this one, push the bottom foot down into the ground and get into this plank position. Doing so engages the glute med. Now, make sure that the elbow is stacked under the shoulder. This decreases stress on the shoulder. Also, make sure to keep the hand on the hips. Not only does this help standardize the exercise, but it also helps increase body awareness, specifically at the hips. This is important as a common compensatory strategy when performing this is rolling forward or backward from the hips. This will help increase awareness and help keep you sideways so you load the gluteus medius properly. Now, once in this position, try to maintain alignment. Then you will raise one leg straight up. Make sure that as you raise the foot, that it stays facing forward. Again, similar to the hand on the hips, this is a good cue to make sure you stay lined up and are not compensating by rolling back on the pelvis. Usually, I work the person to holding this position for 3 seconds, then return to starting position and repeat. Now the goal I work toward for runners is to perform this for 3 to 4 sets for 30 seconds. Now, if this is too difficult, you can revert to the side plank or other variations of it, which I went over in a previous video. Now, the next exercise I will go over is side stepping. I typically have the athlete master the lateral toe tap prior to this exercise to make sure they engage the gluteus medius along with the lumbopelvic hip region properly. Once they do, I incorporate this one as this involves a more dynamic component to the activity. Now here, I use a band, but when learning this exercise, you can perform this without it. Anyway, to start this one, keep the knees slightly bent. This engages the quads and actually puts the leg in a position more similar to the mid-stance phase of running, where the gluteus medius is known to produce its peak force. Also, keep the trunk slightly bent forward. This decreases engagement of the IT band and focuses the load on the gluteus medius, which is the point of the exercise. Now as you do this exercise, try to keep the shoulders and hips level. This cue will help keep you from leaning too far toward the stance leg, which is a common compensatory strategy. Then, straighten out the knee and gently tap out. Then, you will weight shift toward the foot, and once the knee is basically over the foot, you will bring the other leg toward the other leg. Following this cue will really maximize usage of the gluteus medius. Then, you can continue performing this movement. I typically have people perform 2 to 3 sets of this exercise for 30 seconds to the right and left. Now to change the difficulty of the exercise, you can either slow down the movement, change the resistance, or position the band somewhere else on the leg. Common places are around the thigh, ankle, and even foot. The lower the band is, the harder the gluteus medius needs to work. Now the last exercise I will go over is the ice skaters. Unlike the previous 2 exercises, this one adds more of an explosive component as this is more of a plyometric movement. This exercise is typically more geared for sports requiring more of a cutting or side-to-side component. However, this may be beneficial to incorporate depending on the athlete's situation. Anyway, to do this one, you can start by placing an object in the middle or placing cones on the desired areas that you want to jump to. While I did not show cone placement in this specific clip, I prefer using that as visual cues to standardize and quantify how much the gluteus medius is working. Now, when you land, try to land flat-footed. This is meant to engage the side of the hips, which is the point in this specific case. Then, as you push back up, try to push the ground sideways, and you can continue the exercise. I do want to mention that duration and distance to jump to highly depends on the context of the runner. However, if learning this movement, I typically start with 2 sets of 10 ice skaters jumping as far as 70% of max effort, and work from there. And those are a few more advanced exercises for the gluteus medius that you guys can try. I hope you guys found this helpful in ways to improve your running performance. Let me know what you guys think about the video in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.